Ever feel like you're drowning in an ocean of information but parched for actual knowledge? We're bombarded with endless streams of data every day, news headlines, social media posts, TikTok dances, you name it. But how do we navigate this chaotic sea of information and arrive at the shores of genuine understanding? How do we sift the facts from the fluff, the real news from the fake, the profound wisdom from the mindless memes? That's where epistemology comes to the rescue, the fancy philosophical term for the study of knowledge itself. Don't worry, it's not as dry and dusty as it might sound. Think of epistemology as knowledge, a fascinating deep dive into how we really know what we know. It's like being a detective for your own brain, examining the evidence for your beliefs and figuring out if they hold water. This course cracks open the mysteries of knowledge in 3 exciting parts. First, we'll unpack the fundamental building blocks of knowledge. We'll strip away the complexities and get down to brass tacks. What does it even mean to know something? Is it just a gut feeling, a strong belief, a lucky guess? Or is there something more to it? We'll dissect everyday examples like knowing that the earth is round, knowing your best friend's name, or knowing that pizza is delicious to uncover the hidden ingredients of true knowledge. We'll explore the crucial difference between simply believing something and actually knowing it, and we'll examine how language itself shapes our understanding of the world. Next, prepare to have your mind blown by the infamous get your problem. Picture this: you glance at your watch, it says 200 p.m. and you believe it's 200 p.m. And guess what? By some cosmic coincidence, it actually is 200 p.m., but here's the twist: your watch is broken, has been stubbornly stuck at 200 p.m. all day long. You got the answer right, but do you really know it's 200 p.m.? Does simply having a true belief count as knowledge if it's based on faulty reasoning or sheer luck? That's the kind of mind-bending paradox we'll grapple with in this section. It's like winning the lottery because you dreamt the winning numbers but accidentally bought the wrong lottery ticket. You're technically right, but are you really a winner? The get your problem exposes a surprising gap between true belief and genuine knowledge, forcing us to rethink our assumptions about what it means to know something. Finally, we'll venture into the shadowy realm of radical skepticism. Have you ever had that late-night existential crisis, that unsettling feeling that maybe, just maybe, everything you think you know is an illusion? What if we're all living in a simulated reality, a dream, or an elaborate prank orchestrated by a mischievous, all-powerful being? We'll explore these intriguing and sometimes terrifying possibilities, the idea that proving we know anything at all might be more challenging than herding cats on a unicycle. We'll examine the arguments of famous skeptics throughout history, from ancient Greece to modern times, and see how their ideas continue to challenge our understanding of knowledge today. But before we plunge into the depths of skepticism, let's build a solid foundation. We'll start with those fundamental building blocks of knowledge. We constantly use phrases like, "I know Paris is the capital of France," or "I know my dog loves belly rubs." But what's the common denominator in these statements? Philosophers call this propositional knowledge, a knowing that something is true, knowing that a specific claim about the world corresponds to reality. It's distinct from know-how, like knowing how to bake a sawfly or parallel park a car. You can't articulate that kind of knowledge in a simple declarative sentence, can you? So, what are the essential ingredients of this knowing that kind of knowledge? Most philosophers agree on 2 crucial components. First, the belief must be true. You can't know something that's demonstrably false, no matter how fervently you believe it. Believing that the earth is flat doesn't make it so, unfortunately. Second, you have to genuinely believe it. You can't know something if you secretly harbor doubts or are just pretending to believe it. Seems pretty straightforward so far, right? But wait, there's more to the story. Believing something is true doesn't automatically grant you admission to the exclusive club of knowledge. There's a vital missing link, a secret ingredient that separates mere true belief from genuine knowledge. Imagine a jury reaching a guilty verdict based solely on racial bias, completely disregarding the evidence presented in court. They might accidentally stumble upon the correct verdict by pure chance, but would we say they knew the defendant was guilty? Of course not. Their belief was unjustified, unfounded, and ultimately, just plain lucky. True knowledge demands something more: a solid, reliable, and justifiable connection to reality. It's about having good reasons for your beliefs, not just blindly accepting them. Think of it this way: stumbling upon a buried treasure while digging for earthworms is fantastic, but it doesn't make you an archaeologist. Real knowledge is more like painstakingly excavating an ancient city, carefully analyzing the artifacts, and drawing informed conclusions about the past. It's about understanding why something is true, not just tripping over the truth by accident. So how do we forge that crucial connection between belief and reality? How do we differentiate between lucky guesses and genuine knowledge? That's the central question we'll begin to unravel in the next section. Prepare to embark on a mind-expanding journey into the nature of knowledge itself. It's going to be an adventure you won't soon forget. Let's embark on a philosophical adventure, a journey into the very heart of what it means to know something. It seems like a simple enough concept, right? You believe something, it's true, and you've got good reasons for believing it. Think of a skilled doctor diagnosing an illness based on symptoms and test results. That's a classic example of what philosophers used to call knowledge a justified true belief. Neat, tidy, and seemingly airtight. For centuries, this justified true belief package deal was the gold standard of epistemology, the fancy philosophical term for the study of knowledge. It was the bedrock upon which our understanding of knowledge rested. But then, in the intellectual earthquake of the 1960s, a relatively unknown philosopher named Edmund Gettier published a short but devastating paper that shook the foundations of epistemology. In just a couple of pages, Gettier unleashed a torrent of mind-bending counterexamples that exposed a fatal flaw in the seemingly invincible, justified true belief fortress, Gettier's weapon of choice. Ingenious thought experiments known as Gettier cases. These scenarios were like philosophical grenades exploding the comfortable notion that true, justified belief equals knowledge. Let's explore a couple of these explosive examples. The stop clock. Imagine you glance at a clock on the wall and see it reads 200 p.m. You believe it's 200 p.m. and you're justified because the clock has always been reliable in the past. But here's the rub unbeknownst to you. The clock stopped exactly 12 hours ago. You happen to be looking at it at the precise moment when it accidentally displays the correct time. You have a true belief justified by the clock's usual reliability. But do you actually know it's 200 p.m.? It feels more like a lucky coincidence than genuine knowledge. The fake barn. Picture a scenic countryside drive. You point to a structure in the distance and say, "Look, a barn." You believe it's a barn. And you're justified because it looks exactly like a barn from your vantage point. However, what you don't know is that the region is filled with incredibly realistic barn facades, mere fronts with nothing behind them. You just happen to looking at the one actual barn in the area, surrounded by a sea of decoys. True belief seemingly justified by visual evidence, but again it feels like your knowledge is based on pure luck. These Gettier cases demonstrated that you could have a belief that was both true and justified, fulfilling all the traditional requirements for knowledge, and yet still fall short of genuine knowing. Something crucial was missing. The element of luck, the accidental nature of the truth in these cases, seemed to undermine the claim to knowledge. The philosophical world was thrown into a frenzy. Gettier's seemingly simple examples had unearthed a profound problem. If justified true belief wasn't enough, what was? How could we refine our understanding of knowledge to account for these pesky Gettier cases? In the aftermath of Gettier's intellectual detonation, two fundamental questions emerged. 1. Is justification even the right concept to be focusing on? Perhaps the traditional emphasis on justification was a red herring leading us astray in our quest to understand knowledge. Maybe we need a completely different framework. 2. If justification doesn't safeguard us against the vagaries of luck, what does? What's the missing ingredient, the secret sauce that transforms a lucky guess into genuine knowledge? Is it a deeper connection to reality, a more robust form of justification, or something else entirely? The Gettier problem remains a central puzzle in epistemology, forcing us to grapple with the complexities of knowledge and the elusive nature of truth. So, let's dive deeper into the philosophical rabbit hole, exploring the various attempts to solve the Gettier problem and unravel the enduring mystery of what it truly means to know. Prepare for a mind-expanding journey. Have you ever had that moment, maybe late at night staring at the ceiling, when you suddenly question everything? Like, what if reality isn't what it seems? What if we're all just characters in some elaborate cosmic simulation, unknowingly living out a pre-programmed existence? Sounds like a bad trip or a late-night dorm room conversation, right? But this what-if scenario is the starting point for a fascinating and deeply unsettling philosophical journey into the realm of radical skepticism. Radical skepticism isn't about being cynical or negative. It's about taking a hard, honest look at the foundations of our knowledge and asking the tough questions. How do we know anything for sure? What justifies our belief in the external world? And what if, just what if, we're fundamentally mistaken about everything? Think about it. Right now, you're probably reading this on a screen, feeling the chair beneath you, maybe hearing sounds around you. But what if all of that is just an illusion? What if your brain has been surgically removed and placed in a vat of nutrient fluid, hooked up to a supercomputer that feeds you a constant stream of fabricated sensory experiences? You see the words on the screen, feel the chair, hear the sounds, but it's all just cleverly orchestrated electrical signals, a matrix-style simulation designed to trick you into believing you're living a normal life. This is the famous brain in a vat thought experiment, a philosophical staple for centuries, going back to thinkers like Descartes long before the Matrix made it a pop culture phenomenon. And while it might sound like science fiction, it raises a profoundly important philosophical point. If you can't definitively prove you're not a brain in a vat, and let's be honest, how could you? Then how can you be certain of anything you experience? The skeptics aren't necessarily saying we are brains in vats, though wouldn't that be a twist? Their argument is more subtle and far more challenging. They're saying that even the possibility of such a scenario undermines our claims to knowledge. If our senses can be so thoroughly deceived, how can we trust them as a reliable source of information about the world? Every piece of evidence you might offer to prove you're not in a simulation, seeing your hands, feeling your body, interacting with others, could all be part of the elaborate illusion. It's like trying to use a dream to prove you're not dreaming. The evidence within the dream is inherently suspect. This skeptical challenge isn't just an academic exercise, it has real-world implications. How do we evaluate the reliability of eyewitness testimony in court? How can we trust historical accounts or scientific data if the possibility of fundamental deception is always lurking in the background? It's like trying to build a skyscraper on a foundation that might be quicksand. No matter how impressive the structure, it's inherently unstable. So, how do we respond to this epistemological crisis? Do we throw up our hands and surrender to the possibility that we know nothing? Or is there a way to fight back against the skeptical onslaught? In this course, we'll dive headfirst into these complex and fascinating questions. We'll explore different responses to skepticism, examining the arguments for and against the possibility of certain knowledge. We'll dissect the brain in a vat scenario and other mind-bending thought experiments, wrestling with the ideas of philosophical giants who've grappled with these issues for centuries. This isn't a course for passive listeners. It's an invitation to actively engage with some of the most fundamental questions about human existence. It's about challenging your assumptions, sharpening your critical thinking skills, and developing a more nuanced understanding of what it means to know and what it means to be human. Prepare to have your mind expanded, your beliefs challenged, and your perception of reality forever altered. It's a journey down the rabbit hole of philosophical inquiry, and there's no turning back. Ever feel like the world around you is a giant riddle wrapped in an enigma, sprinkled with a dash of absurdity and a side of existential angst? Then congratulations, you're already thinking like a philosopher. This course is your all-access pass to a mind-bending adventure through the fascinating world of epistemology, the study of knowledge itself. Get ready to question everything you thought you knew, wrestle with mind-boggling paradoxes, and maybe even emerge with a slightly clearer understanding of this crazy thing we call reality. We'll kick things off with the million-dollar question. What does it actually mean to know something? Is it just a matter of having a strong belief? Or is there a secret sauce, a special ingredient that transforms a mere hunch into genuine knowledge? We'll unpack the classic recipe for knowledge-justified true belief and discover why it's not as foolproof as it sounds. Get ready for get-your cases, philosophical brain teasers that are like the ultimate plot twist, revealing how you can be right for all the wrong reasons. Imagine accidentally acing a test because you misread every question. Does that really count as knowing the material? Philosophers have written entire books debating this, but the fun doesn't stop there. We'll delve into the realm of the skeptics, the philosophical equivalent of that friend who always has to one-up your story. Skeptics love to poke holes in our everyday assumptions, forcing us to confront uncomfortable questions like, what if everything you perceive is just an elaborate illusion? What if you're actually a brain in a vat, being fed sensory information by a mischievous supercomputer? While these scenarios might seem straight out of science fiction, exploring them helps us understand the limits of our own knowledge and the very foundations of our beliefs. Now, before you spiral into an existential crisis, let's talk about the practical side of knowledge. We all rely on knowledge every day, from knowing when to cross the street to trusting that the earth is Rarifaria slat, earthers. But how do we distinguish between a gut feeling and a well-reasoned judgment? Remember that time you had a hunch about something and turned out to be right? We'll dissect the difference between intuition and justification, exploring how evidence, logic, and reason play a crucial role in building a solid foundation for knowledge. Think of it like building a house. Intuition might give you a rough sketch, but you need solid blueprints and strong materials to make sure it doesn't collapse. And because no philosophical journey is complete without a healthy dose of paradox, we'll grapple with the mind-bending idea that the very act of searching for certainty might lead us down a rabbit hole of doubt. We'll explore how our most fundamental concepts, reason, truth, belief, can sometimes seem to contradict each other, creating a tangled web of philosophical knots. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube where the colors keep changing. Frustrating, absolutely, but also incredibly intellectually stimulating. But that's not all. We'll also delve into the fascinating relationship between knowledge and certainty. Can you really know something if you're not 100% certain? What about those nagging doubts that creep in even when we're convinced we're right? We'll explore the nuances of belief, examining the spectrum of certainty and exploring whether absolute knowledge is even attainable. So, buckle up for a wild ride through the fascinating landscape of epistemology. We'll use humor, real-life examples, thought-provoking thought experiments, and a healthy dose of curiosity to explore some of the deepest questions humanity has ever pondered. Get ready to question everything you thought you knew. challenge your assumptions, and maybe even emerge with a slightly clearer or perhaps even more delightfully confused understanding of the world around you. This course isn't just about finding answers, it's about learning to ask better questions, embrace intellectual uncertainty, and develop the critical thinking skills you need to navigate the complexities of life. And who knows, you might even start to enjoy those late-night existential crises a little bit more. After all, isn't that what philosophy is all about? Let's be honest, sometimes philosophy can feel like a dense forest of abstract ideas, but what if I told you it's actually a thrilling adventure with twists, turns, and mind-blowing discoveries? Let's embark on this journey together, exploring fundamental questions about knowledge, skepticism, and the unexpected role of luck in our lives. No prior philosophical experience required, just bring your curiosity and a sense of humor. We toss around the word knowledge all the time, but have you ever truly pondered what it means to know something? Philosophers have a knack for unearthing hidden complexities in seemingly simple concepts, and their ingenious tool for this is the get your case. Picture this: a farmer spots a fluffy white creature in the distance and confidently declares, "A sheep." But twist, it's actually a sheepdog in masterful disguise. The farmer's belief is technically true, there is a sheep-like thing in the field. But does that really count as knowledge? It feels like something crucial is missing. Getty cases, as outlandish as they may seem, expose a fundamental flaw in our naive understanding of knowledge. Simply having a true belief isn't enough. There needs to be a solid connection, a reliable method, linking your belief to the truth. And guess what? These scenarios aren't just philosophical curiosities. We encounter Gettier-style situations all the time in real life. Think about misinterpreting a text message, relying on unreliable sources, or jumping to conclusions based on incomplete evidence. We're all susceptible to these epistemic pitfalls. Now, before you spiral into an existential crisis, let's be clear, we're not demanding absolute certainty. Knowledge isn't about scaling an impossibly high wall, it's about building a sturdy house on solid ground. Gettier cases simply urge us to inspect our foundations, to ensure our beliefs are well supported and not just lucky guesses. But what if the ground itself is shaky? Enter the skeptic, philosophy's resident party pooper. So just kidding, mostly. Ever entertained the thought that everything you experience might be a simulation? A highly elaborate computer program designed to fool your senses? Skeptics aren't necessarily saying we are brains in vats, but they're posing a powerful challenge. How can you definitively know you're not? This isn't just a late-night dorm room debate, it strikes at the core of how we justify our beliefs about the world. Even if your life is exactly as it seems, the skeptical question lingers like a persistent mosquito. What evidence could you possibly offer to prove beyond any doubt that you're not living in the Matrix? It creates a fascinating paradox. We feel certain about so many things, but can that certainty withstand the skeptical onslaught? This leads us down a rabbit hole of epistemological conundrums. We believe we know basic things like that we have hands. But if we truly knew that, wouldn't we also know we weren't just handless brains in vats, experiencing a simulated reality? It's a mind-bending puzzle that forces us to confront the limits of our knowledge and the fragility of our most basic assumptions. But here's the kicker: skepticism, while unsettling, isn't about resigning ourselves to a life of doubt. It's about refining our understanding of knowledge, demanding stronger justifications for our beliefs, and acknowledging the inherent uncertainty of the human condition. After all, a healthy dose of skepticism can be a powerful antidote to dogma and blind faith. And finally, let's throw another ingredient into the mix: luck. We all know the thrill of a lucky guess, a serendipitous discovery, but can luck truly lead to knowledge? Imagine a scientist accidentally stumbling upon a groundbreaking cure while cleaning a lab. Does that count as genuine knowledge? Here's the crucial distinction: luck can play a role in the process of discovery, but it shouldn't be the sole basis for the truth of our beliefs. The lucky scientist still needs expertise to recognize the significance of their accidental finding. It's like the difference between winning the lottery and winning a chess championship. Both may involve a degree of chance, but one demonstrates skill, strategy, and deep understanding. So, when philosophers argue that knowledge is incompatible with luck, they're targeting a specific type of luck, the kind where your belief just happens to be true by sheer coincidence, without any rational justification. True knowledge requires more than just being right. It requires having solid reasons, sound evidence, and a reliable method for arriving at the truth. In essence, this philosophical journey isn't just about abstract concepts. It's about understanding how we navigate the world, how we form our beliefs, and how we make sense of our experiences. It's about cultivating critical thinking skills, embracing intellectual humility, and recognizing that the pursuit of knowledge is an ongoing adventure, full of unexpected challenges and rewarding insights. So, let's continue exploring this fascinating terrain together. Who knows what other philosophical treasures we might uncover?